morning, Boker Tov. You're here with Tracy Tessler, with support from Mike Spicer on audio video. Here, bringing you Sufganyot. Okay, so this is going to be fun. We have a couple people so far on Zoom with us who are going to give me feedback if they can't hear me because of my mask. It could be a little hard, so I'm going to keep asking for these lovely women to tell me they can hear. Thumbs up?
Good.
Thumbs up. Okay, great. All right. Well, let's start with the recipe should be in the chat, and if you have a hard time getting that, if you just search Sufganyot recipe, I'll spell it for you. Sufganyot. So Sufganyot recipe. It'll probably be the first one that comes up, and it's onceuponachef.com. So either search directly for it or look in the chat. And I've got mostly 100% to the recipe. I'll tell you there's one or two changes that I made as I go along. Okay?
We've got 2 new participants.
Excellent. Okay. Welcome. Nice to see you.
And Dan Checker's coming in here in a moment.
Okay. Great. Well, welcome, Ilana. And
thank you. So excited.
I am too. Okay. So
Diane hasn't quite made it in yet. Do you want to give her a second?
okay. We can stall. So these are the basic ingredients that you're going to need. Vegetable oil, salt. This recipe uses confectioner sugar. This one has nutmeg, not all of them do. Active dry yeast, vanilla, flour, and a couple eggs, and ideally they're at room temperature. And then of course jam for the filling, so I'll bring those out later. And oh, hey Cognac. So well, I think I'll forge ahead here. So the first thing we want to do is get the yeast in the water rising. Some recipes have milk that they use. This one actually you could use milk or water. I've used water for this one. Some recipes have butter rather than vegetable oil. So there's a bunch of different ways to approach it. Basically, you're making a fried delicious thing that you put jam and sugar on, and people will eat it. Really, no matter how it is, it's going to be beautiful. So we don't even have to worry about how attractive they are. I'm going to get the water running because we want to get the water to about 110 to 115 degrees. So that you don't need a thermometer, it says in the recipe. I use one because I'm apt to mess it up, I feel like, otherwise. So, but it says if you get it, you can put your hand in the water and keep it there for a little bit. The water at TDI gets pretty hot, so I'll be careful. Yeah.
Tracy, are we doing this along with you?
You can, if you like, or it's going to be, hi, PBN. You can also, it'll also be on the YouTube channel. So if you just want to watch and do it, because what I've done is actually made some dough beforehand that's been rising for the last couple hours. And so it'll be hard to do everything together.
I see. And how do we know like how much of each thing? Is that written down someplace?
So if you search the recipe, the recipe's in the chat.
Oh.
And it's onceuponachef.com, Sufganyot. Or you can search it directly. If you just search Sufganyot recipe, I'll tell you again the spelling of it, make it easier for you. So
Oh, I found it here. I got it.
It's the first one that comes up. So it'll have the measurements there.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I've got my thermometer. Just gonna check this temperature. So it's 1 cup of warm water. And it's going to between 110 and 115 degrees. Almost there. I'm gonna I'm gonna let the water run just a little bit more just to be sure. This is my biggest point of possible failure, is having the yeast work and having the dough rise. And we have had many adventures over the years. Of waiting for the dough to rise. Yep.
Bring it towards you a little bit.
I'm gonna just get rid of extra water. Okay. So we'll see if this works a little better. That was just a little shy of 110. And of course, now we're overshot it. It says in the recipe that it's not very precise. It doesn't matter. But again, I would say try to be as precise as you can. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Is it
So-
possible to get the microphone closer to you, Tracy?
Not really. If we had an external mic, that would be a great thing to do, but it's on the camera, and otherwise you're going to be right on top of me.
Okay.
So I'll just keep trying to project, but thank you for checking in. Let me know how it's going. Okay, so we need 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, and I chose to get the bottle. The benefit of getting the packages is that you don't have it going, the expiration date coming up if you don't use it. But I got the bottle, one tablespoon, just shaking it on top of the water. I'll put that in the front so we can watch the yeast start to bubble. So I'm just gently giving it a stir. Okay. Okay, so let's get the dry ingredients going. So we need 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Some recipes ask that you measure it by weight. This one does not, thankfully. So, and it didn't sit it, I'm doing it straight from the bag. So we have the flour. This one uses confectioner's sugar in the recipe. Other ones I've done uses just regular granulated sugar. So again, some variation. I think it's all good. So this is a 1/4 cup. And then you're going to need more at the end to sprinkle on top. So that goes in there. Three-quarters teaspoon of salt. Mike, can you pan it out a little, please? Thank you. Okay. Now, this one calls for, let's see, a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. I made this recipe yesterday, and it was very strong in the nutmeg. So if you're kind of sensitive to that, you might want to half it. So that's what I did this morning. I made dough for this demonstration because we're going to cut to some Sufganyot that's already been rolled out and has time to rise for a couple hours. So I cut it in half. It smells better. It smells not as strong. So you can experiment with that. So I'm going for a quarter teaspoon. Okay.
Tracy, did you say you can use granulated sugar or confectioners, powdered sugar?
So in some recipes that I've used, it has granulated sugar. I was just saying that this one uses confectioner sugar. I don't know if it's okay to switch in this recipe, but just so if you see a recipe that uses the other kind of sugar, that's just it's fine too. But I'm gonna stick to the recipe on this and use the confectioner sugar.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Okay. And so we're just using 2 egg yolks, and these have been out for the last couple hours, so they're pretty room temperature. And I've brought my container that I can take home the egg whites and make maybe some macaroons. So that's a good use of egg whites. So you separate the yolk. Okay. Those I'll take home. Okay, so we have 8 yolks. I'm just going to give them a mix. And we add 2 tablespoons of oil to the egg yolks. And I'm just checking in on the yeast. It's starting to bubble. It says to leave it for 5 minutes. If you're doing it at home, I would leave it a little bit more just to give more time to get kind of foamy and more active. Okay. Okay, we got 2 tablespoons of oil in with the eggs. I've got my vanilla. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon. Give that a mix. All right. So Kodiak, are you guys doing this at the same time?
Are we doing it at the same time, Kodiak?
We're trying to.
We're trying.
Awesome. Well, let me know if you need me to wait or no.
Okay, no, it's okay because I have like you on half the screen and then the recipe on the other half. So we're sort of trying to catch up with you a little bit.
That's great. That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to give the dry ingredients a mix. And so the yeast is starting to bubble a little bit, which is a good sign. It means it's starting to
Or
activate.
tip it so you can see inside. I'm real tight in there.
So, you see it's starting to get a little something there. It's starting to look cloudy and get some bubbles on top. So, yeah, okay. Actually, it's starting to get
Starting to get lots of bubbles.
yeah, I'm going to get a little swirl because it's actually starting to get a foam on top. So, so a little history. I've done the Sufganyot table at the Hanukkah Fair for quite a few years.
Five or six at least, yeah.
Something like that, at least 6. And of course, with all the kids, you got to make a huge recipe. So generally, I'll do like an 8 or 9 times volume of the recipe. And so you can imagine how big the bowl is and how stressful it is to have the yeast rise, activate or not activate. You got this whole big thing there. And then adding all the ingredients together in a great big bowl and hoping that it's going to rise. And so Mike will attest to the fact that we had some exciting Saturday nights before the Hanukkah Fair. Sunday mornings, we had this gigantic bowl, and it's either not rising, and I get a little anxious, or it's rising like crazy, and it's
Filling out all over
the countertop. And so that's been fun. And so this is my most anxious time, as I said. It was like waiting for this to happen. But I think it's looking promising. And the dough that I made this morning did rise, and so I think we're in good shape. All right, so I'm going to add the eggs to the yeast mixture.
We have a comment from a listener that says that Google recommends not putting in regular sugar, only using fresh sugar.
Okay, thank you. And good morning, Judy. Boker Tov. Thank you for joining us for Sublime Sufganyot with Tracy. All right, so I've got my dry ingredients. I've got my yeast with my egg mixture, my oil. I'm gonna just mix it together. Another fun thing that I do when I cook is usually I forget a key ingredient. So Bev and Mike will both attest to the fact that I might have been known to make a honey cake without the honey or a pumpkin pie without sugar, So hopefully we have everything that is required here. It's good that you have the recipe to follow along if you don't trust me completely. All right, so I'm just giving it a stir. And Kodiak, this is the time that you and your sister can get your hands in there a little bit. Wash your hands, make them nice and clean, and then give it a bit of a mush. Geraldine, you doing okay? Okay. Bev is safely in her cave, not cooking along, but supporting all the way.
My mom's on another Zoom, can't join.
Okay, okay. Good, all right. So.
Judy and Geraldine are talking to you, but they're muted.
Geraldine, do you know how to unmute yourself?
I muted before.
I'm unmuted now.
Okay. And Judy, do you know how to unmute yourself so we can hear you?
I don't understand why it's so different this
Yeah.
I'm doing this so I can teach the grandkids.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So mine is actually, this is the 3rd time that I've done this dough with this recipe. And it's a little drier than it says, that it looks like in the recipe. Okay. So, but I know that it worked fine last night. It rose this morning. I think we should be in good shape. So I'm not panicking. Okay. I'm going to put this aside because this is good to sit and rise for 1 to 2 hours, if not more. Sometimes what I've done to get it to rise, if it's cold, this time of year, and the room might be cold, is just put it near the oven or put it near the fireplace if you have fire going. So just, if you need a little bit of a boost temperature-wise, that can help. So I'm going to set this aside. some saran wrap, and I put a plate on top just to keep it contained in there, keep all the gases in there, and let it work its magic. So, this is the one from this morning that I did, and it has a little bit of a squish to it, kind of fun to play with, and it rise. So it says to let it rise to twice its volume, and it did. So that's one from this morning. Now the other thing is that I rolled it out maybe half an hour ago. Rolled these ones out half an hour ago, and used my cookie cutter to cut these circles. And then I was just letting them rise a little bit more. So sometimes what I'll do is have these circles, and I'll even put them in a low oven to let them rise a little bit too. So they're more inclined to get fluffy when I cook them. That is another.
Hold on. Don't think.
Sorry.
Tracy, I have a question.
Yeah.
So this dough that you just pulled out in the stainless steel pan, that had risen already.
Right.
And the stuff that you have, so it rises, you let it rise for a couple of hours, then you roll it out and cookie cutter it out?
Right.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay.
this is what I made this morning. And
Right.
I took half, so this is half of the recipe.
Yeah,
I rolled it out about half an hour ago, and so I
Got
just
it.
let it rise again after rolling
Okay.
it out. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, got it, thanks.
So that's one thing, like in the recipe, it says to just push it into a pan. And she actually just uses a cutter, like a pizza cutter or a knife to cut them into squares. I've never tried that before. It would be delicious. I'm going with what I know of traditional. I'm going circles, just cuts. But so I have those laid out. So this is part of the dough. I'll roll out this and reuse it. And one thing is, it's good to get the dough as even as you can when you're rolling it out. I'm going for about a 1/4 inch thick. You don't want some cooking faster than others, or and I just find that they respond better if they're not too thick. And by respond better, I mean that they rise, they fluff up better when I'm cooking them. So I cut a few more. So it's good to use a little bit of flour on the. So what I made here is to work the surface out of freezer paper. So it's just weighty enough that it's slippery. I can work on it, and it's easy to move the stuff away if I need to. So
What's the
just
paper,
create
what's the
more
paper
surface.
that, Tracy, what's the stuff that you're rolling it on? The slippery stuff?
The stuff that I just sprinkled on there.
The paper.
Oh, the paper. The paper is freezer paper. I have it at home.
Oh, freezer paper. Okay, got it. Freezer paper.
Yeah. You can, of course, you can use your counter, but this way it just kind of keep it more contained, keep the flour contained. And if I need to move this out of the way, which I will have to fry the Sufganyot, then it just allows me that option. So, yeah, so I have the rolling pin here. As she talks about just pushing it into a pan, I wonder if by doing that it would become less compressed, and so it wouldn't need the time to rise. I've just never done that. I've always rolled it. Most recipes that I've used have you roll it. And if you have any experience, any of you, with doing it differently, please chime in. I know that this Sunday, Namit and Eitan from our community, they're the parents of Mia and Aiden and I'm forgetting the youngest one. They're going to make Sufganyot to give to the Talmud Torah students, and they're using a recipe that Eitan uses. They're from Israel, and Eitan makes these each year. So it may be a little different. And I actually got a copy of that recipe last night, but it's in Hebrew, and that is beyond my pay scale. So we went for the English. Okay, so I'm just using the cookie cutter. You can use, I've used a cup a lot, a little smaller one. In the recipe they talk about using a bell jar lid. So, or actually that was a different recipe. Or just cutting it, just making a grid. So it doesn't matter too much.
Hello, Tracy.
Yeah.
Is this one recipe that you're doing? Is this like the second ball that you rolled out from this first recipe that you made?
Right. So this is the dough that I made this morning.
Before.
A couple hours ago.
Right. But it's one recipe, these two balls that you rolled out.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So let's see. So if you can see how many Sufganyot there are. So I have, let's see, of this size, which is, I don't know, 2.5 inches.
Probably 3.
3 inches. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 cut, and then I have this much dough left. So, probably easily 20, 22, something like that. It would be for one recipe in that size cookie cutter. Okay, so let's make room to fry, because this is going to be fun, and this is the moment of truth. Okay, so like I have enough room to pull this, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so here comes my frying pan. So you can do this on the stove. I like to use the electric frying pan because I can control the temperature. So they recommend 350 degrees. That way it's easy for me to hit that temperature. So so this has been on and warming up for the last few minutes, or half an hour. I've got a cookie sheet with paper towels and a drying rack or grid on there. And then my slotted spoon. And I like to just have the electric griddle on a towel just to prevent it from slipping. Inevitably, there's going to be grease that splatters. And so I kind of just like to have a towel to absorb that stuff and control it a bit. Okay, let's test the oil. By putting a little piece of dough in there. So the recipe, she says that if it takes a minute to cook, then you're at the right temperature. So I'm going to just throw that in, and you can see it bubbling. Spin it around, I give it a little flip. So it's looking pretty good. Of course, I haven't been timing, but I think it's cooking at a good speed, and it fluffed up a little bit. So our first little.
I don't know why it's so blurry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. Well, let's give this a try. So we're going to fry our first Sufganyot. We'll take ones that have been out for a little bit longer. Gently lay them in there. And can you see that, Mike? Good job. So they just kind of float to the top. Oh, good. It's fluffing up. That's a good sign. See See this one here? Come on, baby. You see that?
It's getting super fluffy.
Yes, that's what we want. So I'm gonna not overload it, because I think when I overload it, it lowers the temperature of the oil enough that it affects the Sufganyot. So I'm just gonna leave it
Okay.
with 5, yes. They're working. So I'm gonna leave it for about a minute and a half on one side. You can peek and see. Get over. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it for just a little bit longer. Yay, it's working. Yes, yeast. Okay, so let's give that a flip. So can you see that this color here, how it's kind of nice and brown, not too dark? This recipe calls for vegetable oil. I've seen recipes call for canola oil. So I used canola oil for my latkes last night because that's the family recipe. Mrs. Levine's recipe. Thank you, Beth. It has canola oil. So I really don't know, if it makes too much of a difference for the Sufganyot, but we use vegetable oil for this recipe. And they're working. They're fluffing up, which is nice. So as I say, even if they're little hockey pucks, it'll still be a treat. But it's much more fun when they're fluffy, and you can squeeze the jam in, which is a really great thing for the kids to do. So much fun. Kids and adults who are kids at heart. So we're almost have it. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So that is a successful looking Sufganyot. Oh, you got it. Okay, you want to go? Let's go for the tight shot.
The fuzzy tight shot.
Let's go for the fuzzy tight shot. Oh, that's pretty clear. Okay. All right. So that's that. So I've got, let's let it drain. Jody has come to watch the action. She's smelling the grease, wondering, is the place going to go up in smoke? So far, so good. Smelling grease.
I read last night, Tracy, that if you boil water on the stove with vinegar in it while you're frying, it cuts down the smell in your house.
Oh, I did not.
Never heard that before.
That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna go for maybe 5, and they're fluffing up. I think that's the key to success, is not overloading the frying pan. So as those cook, well, let's see. These are roll. And Kodiak, another thing that's fun that you can do with extra dough is you can make little snakes and little shapes too. So if you have extra dough that doesn't fit into the cookie cutter, it's okay to just throw those little bits in just for fun. Okay.
Small donut size.
All right, so let's give them a flick. So we have a couple that are a little hockey puckish. So it might be that I need more time to let the oil heat up again between times. So actually, I think what we'll do is when I take these out, I'm just going to increase the temperature a little bit, just to give it a bit of a boost. So as those are cooking, I just want to show you what I did with the jam. I'll bring it over. are raspberry and boysenberry seedless. And then I put them into these squeeze containers. And with the lids, I just took my scissors, my kitchen shears, and cut the top of it because it's a little bit narrow because it's so thick. So narrow for the jam to fit.
Jelly or is it jam?
It is jam. It's jam.
Okay.
And so you can, of course, choose anything you want to put in there. It's like that's a goodie right there. But I haven't had good success with, strawberry jam because it's too chunky, and so you get big pieces of strawberry that don't fit through the nozzle. So, and the other thing I did with this is I put the jelly into a bowl and mixed it up with a fork and just made it a little softer before I put it into the jar. They also said that you could heat the jelly a little bit if it's giving you some grief and it's not ready enough.
Can you say that again, Tracy? What did you do with the jelly before you put it in the little squeeze bottles?
I put it into a bowl and just used a fork to break it up a little bit.
Not
So
at all.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
a little more runny.
Got it.
And I would say that the chunky jam doesn't work as well, especially with strawberries, because you get big pieces of strawberries. So normally if I were to put something on toast, I would choose something chunky and with lots of seeds and texture.
Right. Oh, like raspberry or
And
something.
Smoother works better, yeah.
Right.
And you can, and I think it was this recipe says that you can also use other things like Nutella or marshmallow cream, or you can be creative. So I'm just going to turn the temperature up a little bit, and
Can you use jam?
yes, I use seedless jam. So I chose boysenberry and raspberry seedless,
Okay.
and then I got
Or
these.
show them off there, yeah.
Pardon? Show them again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Boysenberry and raspberry seedless. And I got these squeeze containers from Winco. They have these, in their kitchen section. And these have been a staple for me for my Sufganyot every year. They're really helpful. All right, let's throw a couple more in. And then it's time to put the jam in and put the sugar on top.
Plate for that?
Well, I have.
They're looking beautiful, Tracy.
Thank you.
Yummy.
So I'll show you. So here we are with the ones that are cooling. So that's nice. It's got a nice 3D dimension. The hockey puck version is more like a 1.5D.
It just happens sometimes.
It happens sometimes.
Yum, they look delicious.
Me too.
But I like the smell. The smell of these ones I like better with half of the nutmeg. I don't know. How do you all feel about nutmeg? Because it's something like it's almost like a cumin. You either love it or you hate it, and high volume is not a good thing.
Yeah, it can be too overpowering if you put too much.
Yeah.
I like your Canadian reference to the hockey puck donuts.
They have hockey in the United States now. Too bad,
But people don't talk about it the way we do in Canada.
It's a good size for little kids.
Definitely.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like it's any healthier. It's just more dense. It's not like it's a smaller version. It's just a more dense version. So. Okay. So when these finish cooking, well, I think that we have time to cook the rest of them. I'll roll this up real quick. Yeah, I think these ones are actually starting out a little thicker than my original ones. So what, the more you work the dough, the more, or the less forgiving it becomes and a little tougher. So, so they're getting a little thicker as I work, which isn't, I don't think, a great thing. I think that, as I was saying earlier, they seem to rise easier in the oil if they're a little thinner. Otherwise, they're too heavy. Okay. So I'm trying to think of what else could go wrong with these. What else could go wrong? Not everything could go wrong, right? So, oh, if the dough is rising a lot and you're not ready to cook it because you have an event and you want to cook it on the spot, which is really fun. I mean, that's it's definitely more fun to have the smell and have the sounds of this all with people there than have them done the day before or something. So. If you want to do your dough beforehand and your dough is rising too much, you can punch it down, buy yourself some more time. And if you do the dough the night before because you have a morning event like the Hanukkah fair, you can get up in the middle of the night a couple of times and punch it down.
Okay, so you're saying like I could make this evening. I just punch it down a couple times between now and then.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great.
Good. So this batch, I had 2 winners and 2 bronze medalists. And they actually do look like a bronze medal. They're probably about as heavy. All right. When these guys finish, and it's time to decorate. An interesting shaped one. Everyone is its own little art piece. So it's kind of flat on one side, kind of raised on the other side. Okay. Be careful as you're doing this. If you're going to do them on the spot and decorate them, that they cool enough. It's exciting, and kids want to get their hands on them and get that jam squeezer going. But just make sure that they're cooled enough. Okay. Great. Well, I'll put the lid on the oil. Slide that out of the way. Okay. Now we have some fun. Kodiak,
What?
which one should I pick? I'll put my finger over, you say stop. Which one?
What?
Tessler.
Done.
That one?
Yeah.
I think it looks like Kodiak chose one of the most recent one with the sort of a flattish bottom. Nice dome top. Excellent choice, Kodiak. Okay, so are we going to have raspberry or boysenberry, Kodiak?
Raspberry.
Raspberry, okay. Make sure the lid is on tightly. Poke that in the end. Give it a good squeeze. And you can feel it getting heavier.
Cool.
Like how much do you think you put in there?
That is a really great question. Actually, this is one way to tell, is it looks like maybe a tablespoon or two, because this was full right to the top. So
Okay.
now I can see about a half an inch space at the top. So I gave it a good closing of my
Not science.
of my grip. It's very precise. Okay, and then we give it a shake. So yeah, would you like more sugar or less sugar?
As much as possible.
Oh no, that's perfect. It looks great.
Okay, so put that there. Okay, Bev.
Yeah?
All right, you pick one. I'll drop this off to you.
Oh, anyone.
Okay, we'll go for this guy.
If there's one for me, I don't have sugar on top.
No sugar for Bev. Okay.
Okay.
Raspberry or boysenberry?
Raspberry. Raspberry.
Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Who else wants to pick one? Diane, do you want to pick one? This is for the office. So you're,
I'll pick the one right there. Let's see. Put your right by your pointer finger. That one. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the fluffiest one. Got a couple other layers. Raspberry or boysenberry, Diane?
What was the second choice besides raspberry?
Boysenberry.
I'll do raspberry.
Okay.
You're going to be out of raspberry.
I haven't had a lot of, I've always wondered how you got the jelly in. This is like a great mystery of life that has been solved.
Well, so that's the other thing. Last year there was a recipe that said put the jam in between two circles of dough, pinch them together, and then fry them. What that turned out to be was individual circles and jam everywhere. It was,
Oh,
right.
gosh, that would never work.
yeah, it was so don't trust that recipe. Okay.
So,
Sugar, Diane?
yes, definitely.
A lot of sugar, or would you like a light dusting?
A lot of, just a sprinkling of sugar.
Yum.
A little bit more.
Yum,
That's
yum,
good.
yum.
That's good.
All right. Okay. And Geraldine.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that one to your, let's see, it would be your right, that it's kind of high. Another one right next to it, up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, I haven't had Sufganyot that much, but are they always served hot, or is that the idea?
I think fresh is best, but I don't know about that. At the Hanukkah fair, they're always served hot because I'm making them and kids are taking them as quickly as I make them. I don't know.
They're definitely a lot better the first when they're hot, for sure.
Right,
Okay.
that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right. So Geraldine, raspberry or boysenberry?
Well, let's do boysenberry since you've done a bunch of raspberry.
All right. And Geraldine chose one that of the two choices, the one behind it was a little darker than this. So Geraldine, I'm guessing that you like it not done too much. And luckily, you have a lighter side and a darker side in case you change your mind.
I was going by height.
Oh,
Does it matter where you squeeze it in? Are you doing it on the seam or above the seam?
it doesn't. There's no seam. There's no.
I know
seam.
there's no seam. I realize that, but does it matter where you push it in?
No. And some recipes have that. Like I think the picture on the recipe actually has holes in the top, or some recipes have holes in the top. So you can do that as well.
Yeah, I saw
Geraldine,
that.
you got a heavy one here. You got a lot of jam. Are you gonna have sugar on this one?
Yes, please.
Light on the sugar or heavier?
Medium.
Medium. Okay. Another precise measurement.
That's so
Heavy,
good.
medium. Okay, and Judy, we need your help.
Okay. No, they all look delicious. So, yeah, that one, the one you're touching.
Right there? Okay.
Yep, that's good. And I think let's try boysenberry on that also, and light sugar.
Okay.
So are we coming by to pick them up?
You Everybody but Ben is.
Same thing.
I'll ring the, listen, we can ring the bell and wear our mask.
Just refer to it a gift bag. We get our Sufganyot.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so light on the sugar, you said, Judy?
Yes, please.
You got heavy on the jam, light on the sugar, so it's
Yeah,
balances
exactly.
sugar bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, just a light dusting. Okay, so here we have, zoom in on everyone's here, Mike. Okay, so we have Bev's no sugar. We have Kodiak, all the sugar possible. Diane, I think, was a medium, or Geraldine, Diane, and then Judy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very
great.
nice.
So, questions?
I didn't join at the very beginning, so where do I find the flour recipe?
So that if you Google Sufganyot recipe, it's usually the first one that comes up.
Also in the chat.
It's also
Okay.
in the chat if you want to do that. So you can go to the chat and just click on that link. It will take you directly there.
Okay.
And just FYI, the way you spell Sufganyot, if you're going to search it, is SUFGANY. IYOT.
Okay.
It's tricky.
Oh, Tracy, just a point, it did come up in my chat finally. So it's
Okay,
there for me at least. And I had a question, if you made the dough the night before, would you put it in the refrigerator? And then,
Yeah,
okay.
I would do that. And then give it time to warm up and activate.
Have you ever
Wait.
done that?
Yes, I've also had it outside, and making the massive quantities for the Hanukkah fair is fun and exciting, and invites all kinds of things to go wrong. So,
Right.
but
Let me
Diane,
ask that question. So Geraldine, are you asking if you make the dough ahead of time, but you don't let it rise, and then you take it out the next day and you let it rise? Is that what you're talking
Right.
about?
yeah,
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Or else you could let it rise and put it in, part way and then take it out and let it rise some more. I don't know.
that seems like a good idea, Geraldine, to let it rise a bit, and then stop it. Kodiak.
Can my sister have a turn choosing it?
Make one.
Can you? Sorry, what?
Your sister wants to have you make one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. I can't remember what your name is.
Juniper.
Say it again, Kodiak.
Juniper.
Juniper. I'm sorry. Yes, Juniper. Okay, Juniper. I'm gonna point.
Can it be the biggest one?
The biggest one. I think this one in the corner is probably the biggest one. Do you like the one? Okay. Okay. Juniper, raspberry or boysenberry?
Nice and loud, honey.
Raspberry.
Raspberry. I love raspberry too. So I'm gonna pick the one that Juniper has. It's really big right here and didn't rise as much around this edge. So I'm gonna go for the biggest part because then I can put more jam in. Is that okay, Juniper?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
But how do
I might need two hands to hold it. Jennifer, do you want, would you like a little bit of sugar or a lot?
A lot.
A lot, right?
What a surprise.
Juniper wins the sugar. Okay. That's
Beautiful. What do you say, Junie?
Thank you.
Okay. And any other questions?
If you had leftovers and you had them out all day, keep them open or covered? And if you wanted, could you warm them up in the toaster oven for a little bit or not?
That is an interesting question. So I have extra that I made last night, and I put them in a Ziploc bag. I have them in the refrigerator, and they don't have any jam in them at this point. So actually, warming them up, and then putting jam in them afterwards might be a fun thing to do.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
thought about warming them up again. Generally, what I've had is I've just kind of kept them out on the countertop, just like a normal jelly donut would be.
Yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't last more than a day.
It would be good to probably keep it in a closed container, airtight container, just so
Yeah.
they don't dry out. But or so animals don't get into them if you have problems that way. But yeah, I don't think it needs to be refrigerated.
Okay.
In restaurants, they keep them under a cloche. I think that's the word. They a glass cover that gives it some air, but also keeps it closed in.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Like the pastry shops have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. So thank
Wow.
you for donating your
Thank you.
That was terrific.
to the office. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh.
And happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah, everybody.